One of the big things we saw a dry race 8. Matthew Payne led lap 1 ahead of Broc Feeney. Brody Kosecki went from third to fourth on that opening lap. Lap 11, though, Feeney was bringing the battle to Matthew, beating and banging for the lead, but Matt Payne just was not surrendering the lead to Broc Feeney until lap 15. That is where Broc Feeney did manage to get ahead as Matt started to fall down. Some great racing overall in race 2. Kobe, I got to ask you, it looked like it was going to be Broc Feeney taking the win until, as the results show, Will Brown, his teammate, Brown got around Feeney with 8 laps to go, claim another win, and just as he crossed the finish line, finally, the rain a lot of people, everybody was thinking about, started falling down. Triple Eight Racing, though, they look to be on a league of their own. Does this allow them to let their drivers race each other for the win?
Well, right now, it really seems like Broc Feeney and Will Brown are doing an excellent job of racing each other without causing any issues. So I think as long as they continue to race hard but not cross that line of, get into your teammate and potentially wrecking your teammate, I think Triple Eight will let them race and just let the chips where they fall, because I know there might be a point later on in the season where they might do team order, be like, we need to let Will finish here, or we need to let Broc finish here. Hopefully it doesn't come down to that, but as we know in racing, there's always a chance where team orders will come into play. But I think this early on in the season, the drivers are doing a really good job racing each other as teammates, and as long as they do that, I think they're going to be perfectly fine. And Triple Eight looks like the Triple Eight team that we've seen in recent years, not like last year, where they had a lot of competitions from Erebus. I'm sure we're going to talk about that in just a little bit.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, one of the big things, Will Brown essentially made early last year for silly season the announcement that he was coming to Triple Eight Racing when Shane Van Gisbergen was on his way out, and that move appears to be paying off as he leads the championship over his teammate Broc Feeney. I gotta ask, would you consider Will Brown to be potentially the number one driver at Triple Eight Racing?
To be honest, I think it's too soon to say whether or not Will Brown is the number one driver, or if Broc Feeney is the number one driver. Ideally, I think both of them are candidates to be number one drivers. I don't really see one way or the other. I know Will Brown is, he's looking like the king of supercars at the moment, but Broc Feeney is not far behind. I think although Will Brown has the edge at the moment, I think Broc Feeney is still right up there with him on an even level, but Will Brown, I'm really impressed with what he's done with this team. I know we've talked about his move from Erebus to AAA. When he was at Erebus last season, he kind of fell off midway through the season, and he wasn't able to keep up with then teammate Brody Kosecki. And a lot of people wondered if Will Brown would be able to excel at AAA. And it really seems like early on in this season that he's obviously excelling. So if this continues throughout the rest of the season, I think Will Brown will prove all the doubters wrong that he cannot handle this type of ride.
Lot on the line for Will Brown. I think Broc Feeney really wants to prove he could bring the fight to him. Right now, 71-point difference between the two. When you look at the races, of course, both of them, 3 wins. Nick Percat, Andre Humgarner, who won race 1, the only non-Triple Eight drivers to win this season. And a common theme we've been talking about on another series, Ford, they are still winless in the Supercar series this year. Last year, it was Erebus versus Triple Eight. Are we back to Triple Eight versus the field like in the past, not counting last year?
Yeah, that's what it seems like right now. It really seems like Will Brown and Broc Feeney are on a completely different planet, and everybody else is trying to catch them. I don't know if we're gonna call this AAA team, with the Red Bull sponsorship, the Max Verstappen like team or something like that. But it would not surprise me if we see Brown and Feeney completely dominate this year and win most of the races with someone like a Percat or Heimgartner sneaking off a win every now and then. I still think we're gonna see other drivers win throughout the season, but I think that Triple Eight is probably going to win the vast majority of the races. And looking at Erebus, I know we were talking about their program, especially on the Great Tonight shows, and where they're at with Hazelwood and LeBrock in the car. It really seems like they're taking a step back compared to last year. But I said that Brody Kosecki, let him get a racer, 1 race weekend, 2, 3 race weekends under the belt, because he's a good indication of what their program is right now. And based on what we saw in Taupo, Brody Kostecki, I'm going to take this as, he's still knocking off the offseason rust. The other drivers have, a couple of race weekends on their belt already. So maybe give Brody some more time to, get up to speed and all of that. If we go to the next race and the race after that, and Erebus looks exactly like they look this weekend in New Zealand, then I'll be able to, say for sure, yeah, this team lost a lot of speed over the offseason.
It'll be really interesting to see what happens in the next upcoming races for the Repco Supercar Series. A lot still to develop, still young in the season, but it looks like it's going to be Triple Eight, the ones to beat each and every week. Brody Kostecki, first weekend done with the team. Let's see how they look in that second weekend.